Hi, I'm Max Hurd, and this is How I Live with Style. So I'm standing in front of one of the most important pieces in the house. It's this painting that came from my childhood home in Brazil. It is a rather large painting, and when I was looking at houses in the area, it's quite hard to find a London terraced house with enough wall space to hang a painting of this size. We looked at quite a few properties, and eventually when my sister and I came to look at this place, we walked in with a measuring tape and I immediately fell in love without having seen the rest of the house. It's a very special piece to me because it reminds me of a very happy childhood I spent in Brazil. And actually I can show you here. Here it is hanging at our house in Brazil. Here's me and my two sisters and my brother in 1997 in front of the painting, in a much more innocent era. But come through to the kitchen. So this is the kitchen, the heart of the home. But when I first moved into the house, I was slightly overwhelmed by the amount of decisions I had to make. And so I drafted in my great friend Benedict Foley, who is a kind of creative genius and frame maker. And you'll see a lot of his frames dotted throughout the house as we move around the space. I have a kind of allergic reaction to anything too practical, which is why you don't see any appliances or anything in here. They're all hidden carefully away in the little artist nook, which is next door. And then we use this Colfax kitchen curtain to cover the dishwasher. We also added these really amazing crenellations to the top of the cupboards, which were designed by Benedict. Oh, and here we have my darling Ivana, who sadly is no longer with us. She was a particularly beautiful long-haired Chihuahua who was a huge part of my growing up and eventually sort of coming out process, really. She was amazing and helped me massively embrace the sort of queer side of myself that I'd denied for so long. Having a tiny, tiny ball of fluff as a dog, you really had to develop a bit of a thick skin. She was named after Ivana Trump, which sounds ridiculous, but I was obsessed with the film The First Wives Club, and there's an iconic scene at the end when the three girls run up to Ivana Trump and go, "Ivana, what advice would you give three recently divorced women?" And she goes, "Darling, don't get mad, get everything." And I just remember thinking that was like the most iconic line I'd ever heard. So when the tiny ball of fluff arrived, she got the very big name. And over here we have my magnum opus, which I am still seething. I only got a B for in my GCSE art. This incredibly random shelf we didn't really know what to do with for ages because it was originally a spice rack. I think I have salt and pepper and paprika, and that's it. So it didn't really serve a purpose for me. So we decided to turn it into this kind of pinboard thing. And yeah, various mementos from trips. Here's the four of us again as Power Rangers. I was obviously enjoying more of a sort of Spice Girls-esque dance routine in the background there. Oh, of course, my wand. This was on my seat at a birthday party I went to, and it was my friend India's 30th, and she had wands made for all of us. It was one of the most incredible parties I've ever been to, and not just because I love Harry Potter. So I'm very grateful to her for this wand, which now lives pride of place here, in case anyone pisses me off and I need to Avada Kedavra them. Here we have my dining room table, which I love and was my 30th birthday present from my dad. I love having friends around. I love this place being rammed full of the people that I care about. I mean, the most recent dinner party I had was in between Christmas and New Year, which I do every year, and I call it Gay Christmas. And it's an opportunity for lots of my queer friends to come round and kind of share horror stories about their traumatic Christmases with their parents and their families, and we always have a really good time. You can see there's quite a few red wine stains here left over from she who must not be named, I won't mention her. I love being surrounded by the people I love, as I said, and I love being surrounded by their work, which is why you'll see throughout the house examples of the people that I care about, like creativity. I mean, in here, for example, we have these beautiful plates by Gavin Houghton, who is a ceramicist and interior decorator. And I fell in love with his plates, and then I fell in love with him. He's just a fantastic human being. And then the frames, which you can see here and over there, are by Benedict as well, and they are a fantastic way of just immortalising important things to me. Like this drawing was done by one of my best friends, and up here is a photograph of me and another group of my best friends just as lockdown was ending. It was the first time we could all be together, so it was very important to me to immortalise that and have it somewhere that I could be, reminded of them all the time, which is really nice. Through here is the drawing room. Over here we have my collection of glassware. I love things that serve zero purpose but look absolutely stunning whilst doing so. Like this tiny little glass which, if you were really thirsty for one drop of wine, might be useful, but apart from that, serves no purpose. And that lives there next to this little jug that my sister made for me, which I love as well, which I put my candlesticks in. And of course my little pot here, which my friend gave me. It's an Oscar Wilde pot for pills because she knows I love Oscar Wilde. So that lives there. And my lushes who live up here, they are a collection of porcelain figures that used to be on a mantelpiece in a much grander house than this, at my granny's house just outside Reading. And they are, I think they're absolutely hilarious and again serve zero purpose apart from looking fabulous. And they now preside over the debauchery that goes on in this drawing room. So this room is what I rather grandly call my library. The only reason I'm allowed to call it that is, I guess, because I have a couple of books on the shelf. I love this room. I think it's an incredibly calming space. The colour's fantastic, I think. This is definitely my favourite room in the house. I just think it's such a nice space to unwind. This picture of me and my dad is from the first ever Bowden catalogue. Johnny Bowden lived with my parents at university and drafted in my dad and I. And when they did the second version of the catalogue, they actually had to print a disclaimer in the back of the issue, which just simply said, to all the women writing in about the model on page 64, he is in fact married. So basically, please stop harassing us. And I think that's really sweet. So he lives there. Slightly less sweet is my great aunt, who we see up here. When I did put her up here, my granny came round and then she saw this and she went, oh, auntie. God, she was a bit of a nymphomaniac. She used to Roger all the staff. And I thought that was kind of brilliant. So my nymphomaniac great aunt stays up there, pride of place, looking down on us all, looking very, very seductive and sultry. Over here we have the Ludwig wall. So Ludwig II of Bavaria is one of my favourite historical characters. He was this kind of slightly insane last king of Bavaria who spent the entire country's budget on building these incredible castles. I've been obsessed with him for a long time, and so we cut out this book and made this incredible montage, which I love. And then over here we have this mirror. I was very impatient and sending sort of 100 links to mirrors every single day, and he was going, Benedict was going, no, we'll find the right one, we'll find the right one, we'll have the right one with the right amount of foxing, the right shape, the right era. And eventually he showed me this one from Alma Antiques and I just fell in love with it instantly, and the minute it went up I knew he was completely right to have made me wait. Oh, before we go upstairs we should take a minute to appreciate this stair runner and carpet. It is a collaboration between Dale Chihuly and the Rug Company. Dale Chihuly is one of my favourite artists. When I saw it I just knew we had to have it in the house because the colours match the scheme so perfectly. When I first showed Benedict, the only reservation he had was that it wasn't the most practical of things, bearing in mind, you know, I have a very fluffy cat and the house is always full of drunk queens, so he knew that the carpet would take a bit of a pounding over the years. But come on upstairs and I'll show you the rest of the house. So this is my bedroom. It was originally going to be a red and white striped room, and then I remember reading in my favourite book, The Picture of Dorian Gray, he gets corrupted by another book, the Yellow Book, and in real life it's called Against Nature. And it's a great book about this kind of decrepit French aristocrat who retreats from civilization to go and live in a hut somewhere, and the only colour that his very delicate eyes can stomach is orange. So we ended up swapping the red and white stripe that we originally had planned for this amazing Farrenball tent stripe, which is in a really nice orange. But I love how kind of playful and fun the Colfax squiggle fabric is, and mixed with the shell motifs that we have not only above the bed here, but also on the actual headboard, which was painted by my great friend Queenie. it's a great bedroom to relax in. Lots of people come in and think it looks quite crazy, and lots of people come in and say it looks quite crazy and mad, but actually when you take the colours away, and if you see this this room in black and white, it's actually a very traditional sort of English country house bedroom. So this is the top room in the house. It's very much the kind of cherry on top of the cake. We didn't want to run out of steam, so we thought we'd go out with a bang, which is why we decided to kind of go bold with the colours. It's inspired by a swimming pool by Werner Panton in Hamburg, lots of reds and purples and blues. The fabric that you see here is by Viola Linari, who's a fantastic friend of mine and also a fantastic fabric maker and lampshade maker, which are the ones you see here and here. I think the colours and the fact that it's at the top of the house and the low ceilings does make it feel quite naughty. I mean, we've always kind of pegged it as the sort of sex room, but I think I overestimated my own libido because there has been very little sex happening up here. We tend to use it more for after dinner drinks and games, and then there's been several friends passed out on the floor and on various parts of the room. Thank you very much for joining me on this tour of my house. I hope you've enjoyed it, and please don't forget to subscribe to the Sunday Times YouTube channel. Yeah, cheers, thanks. Oh, that's good, fuck. I'm quite like, right, you can all leave now.
Hi, I'm Eva Sonaike, and this is how I live with style. I'm an interiors and interior textile designer, and I love to surround myself with color and pattern and African elements. I travel a lot across the African continent. I'm from West Africa, grew up in Germany, so all of these elements I think are reflected in my home and in my style. After 2 years of not being able to travel, I was finally able to travel again and went first to Nigeria, to my home country. So I went to an arts and crafts market outside of Lagos where I saw these 3 amazing threaded paintings. I met the artists there and fell in love with them. The colors, the pattern, and it also has a texture about them which I thought would look great in my house. So here they are. So this is my latest collection, which you see here. All my products are obviously inspired by African designs. This is inspired by Kano, which is a place in northern Nigeria, which is very well known for its Hausa architecture. Really beautiful, intricate, ornate motifs on the outside of the buildings, which I found beautiful. So I thought I'd represent this in a collection. So this little cozy corner here, I call it the cozy corner because we have got a lamp which is really beautiful for ambient lighting in the evening. It's really warm and welcoming. I also have this very interesting device where people often ask me what it is. And again, I got this in Nigeria on a market. The chief elders or tribal elders use it. It's actually a device to get rid of flies. So they sit there, and when they're somewhere out, in the bush or somewhere where there's lots of flies and mosquitoes, and you just use it to get rid of flies. Sometimes you see it at weddings these days that people wear it and very elegantly fan themselves or get rid of everything that flies, and I think it looks perfect in my home, so I have it here with me. Obviously not the real Benin bronzes, but Benin bronzes replicas, which I again picked up on a market in West Africa, and it's a his and her, and I just find the shape really, really beautiful and elegant, and they just represented my husband and myself. We thought so, we put them here in the house. Love to read, as you can tell. There are lots of books. I think this is more my husband's side. If you come to this side, it gets really colorful and bold. Lots of books on fashion, on textile, on design, which are all mine. But generally, it's African-inspired design, colors, patterns. And here, that's one of my favorite pieces. We recently did a collaboration with Soho Home, the interior side of Soho House, and I designed this rug for them. So this is the original Soho Home rug, which I have here in the house, and I think it blends in perfectly with the overall colors of the house. So here we have our little fish called Bino and Fino. They have been with us for 7 years and are actually part of the family right now. My children, husband and myself, we all appreciate and cherish them, so they live here with us. as an interior designer, you come across many homes, and some homes feel like show homes. I like homes that feel lived in, that have a story, have elements that, represent who we are. So for example, this piece, it's a little musical instrument which I picked up on my first trip to Ghana. It's over a decade ago, I don't know exactly when it was. We went to the mountains for a day trip into a botanical garden, which also inspired me to design a collection. And we were like in the middle, it was very foggy and misty, and the greens were so lush and the earth was red, and it was a real kind of spiritual trip for me, I feel. And I found these musical instruments up there, which we back then bought for the kids because they, they used to like to play on them. But we kept them, we had them for over the decade. They're still part of our family history, and I think that's really important to me, to have items here that represents who we are and represent the experiences we lived as a family, and where we had great memories. And one other element I love about our house is that we have a sunken living and dining area here, which gives the house another dimension. I feel it, really helps with the height of the ceilings. So we have a higher ceiling height in this part of the house. I grew up in Germany. My parents live in Germany. My mom had a pediatric surgery in Germany. She's a doctor. So I've got this really beautiful antique German chest. So that was one of the items when she was a student in Germany she bought, and that my parents gave it to me when I moved into this house, to have a piece of our home in Germany in the house. I really like the detail on here. Gives it a dimension. Even if it's not African, it still fits into the overall design scheme of the house. We have this really large Indian teakwood dining table. I mean, we literally dine on here. We eat on here every day. We have friends over at weekends. So it's a really nice area here where we all come together. We have conversations with friends, sit down, laugh, eat. I love to set the table really beautifully and intricately. So I've got a studio in North London where my team works from, and where I work from most of the time. But on certain days, I love to stay at home, work from my dining table. I've got the light here, I've got the peace here, I've got my green garden. And I think that's where my creative juices often flow the most. All my designs are sketched by hand. Often I recommend not to have more than 3, maximum 4 colors in a design scheme. Have 60% of one color, then you can have 30% of an additional color and 10% of an accent color. So you can go really overboard with that, or you can go really, really plain and simple with that. So when it comes to pattern is another thing. So I think patterns often can be overpowering. I think you need to really know what you're doing when using patterns in your home. For example, if you have a circular pattern and mix that with a more geometric pattern, that may not necessarily work. I mean, I myself agree. So you need to have a look at the shapes of the pattern. That's the first one. So if you, for example, have a circular pattern and mix that with another circular pattern, I mean, they harmonize better together. So look at the shape of your pattern. I think that's a really, really good point to start with. So this is my bedroom, which is actually my favorite room in the house. It's in a really calming color scheme of lilac and whites, and it's really, restorative when I come back after hard days of work. It's nice after a hot bath to come in here, read a book, speak to my friends or mom on the phone, spend some time by myself watching something. So it's a really nice and restorative space. But I wanted an accent piece in here. I wanted something which stands out and, kind of translates the colors and patterns and the vividness of the other elements I have into the house, into the bedroom. So I upholstered this mid-century chair in my orange Audi fabric, which I initially created solely for myself because I wanted it for this bedroom. I wanted something with orange and pink, which stands in kind of a contrast to the overall calming scheme. And yeah, there was the chair which we made, and I loved it so much that I thought, you know what, if I like it, other people will like it. So we introduced it to the line and have it as part of our collection right now. So my bedroom has also kind of lots of little trinkets, and everything has a story. This is a typical beaded South African bag. I saw it on the market. I really loved it. I've never worn it out, but I love it as a display item in my bedroom. There are lots of other pieces in here that, I really like and that really, again, add to my overall story. This painting here, I got it from a friend of my dad. I think I was maybe about 14 or 15. He was from France and he worked at the Museum Sacré-Cœur, and he brought this painting for me, and I had it since then. I had it in my bedrooms since my teenagehood. Wherever I lived in the UK, I lived in the US, I lived in Germany, and wherever I went, this painting went with me, and I love it. It's quite better, the frame is coming apart, but I love it, and it's really, really dear to me, and I wanted it to be in my bedroom because it's so, close to my heart. So coming from a family of, my dad worked in the arts world, my mom was a pediatrician, but still had, real kind of interest and was a hobby designer, hobby garden designer, and interior designer. So there were always art auctions, etc. So I remember seeing this little Baroque angel. It was from a German Baroque church, which my dad restored. And lots of the stuff got left over, certain things they replaced. I remember finding this in the cellar in our house in Germany one day, and I loved it so much. Again, I carried it in my suitcase here to the UK, and it's really dear to me because it's almost like a little guardian angel in the bedroom. This is another piece which I actually nicked from my parents. They went on a trip in, I think, the 1960s, way before I was born, on a safari in Tanzania and Kenya, and picked up this original Maasai neck piece, which was hanging in our apartment in Germany for years. And I always loved it and admired it, and I didn't feel they didn't give it any justice. So I took it and mounted it on a frame, and it has been hanging here ever since, and I really love it. Thank you so much for coming to visit me in the house tour today. It was a real pleasure showing you around. Don't forget to subscribe to the Sunday Times Style YouTube channel. And I better go now because I think my kids are coming back from school, so I better go and get ready for them. Bye.
Hi, I'm Anna Barnet and I am a food writer and cook, and this is how I live with style. We have been in this house for about a year and a half, and when we found it, it was all about the light. The light was amazing. We saw it in summer, and it kind of has, through winter as well, kind of light coming all through this space here on the ground floor, which was actually originally the living room. Everything, although my life is very varied, is kind of centered around food. So I knew that the kitchen was kind of my priority in terms of how it had to feel the heart of the home. I'm a huge fan of the glass studio. They make these beautiful hand-blown glassware. They've just brought out vases. I picked this up when we were in Penzance, doing a bit of a kind of recce on the area, checking out when we stayed at like the most gorgeous guest house, and they have really beautiful food offering. The pantry is kind of my pride and joy, but mainly where I hide most of kind of everything I cook with on a daily basis. When I travel, I'm always kind of picking up local delicacies, and I guess Greece is one of those places, also Italy, that just does like amazing dried oregano. And I've really got like addicted to putting on everything. I would say there's a few spices that are kind of in very kind of quick rotation. Sumac, definitely one of them. Coriander seeds, I kind of love those with everything, for pickling to making up your curry paste. I would have to say, in all honesty, this house is absolutely not finished. But I just feel like the pressure to try and get this kind of perfect finished article is just, for me, it's just not possible, because you're balancing work, and I've been quite hands-on in doing stuff myself. So I feel like a home should be a work in progress. This was one of the things, or collection of things that I bought out in Naxos, and I just moved the bread, but this is like a very typical Naxian stone, like marble. The guy that made them was so clever. He showed me how he carved it out of this block of stone. This is also part of his collection, but a very rare, like I think it's very hard to mine this now, and this is from Tinos, another Greek island we went to when we were doing our big kind of foodie tour. I saw it, I loved them. I had a very robust shopper bag that I hand carried them all the way back from boats, planes, trains, or the whole lot. This photographer, Lucy Lorp, does these really beautiful, she shoots on her like dad's old 70s Pentax. They're just really beautiful kind of ocean shots, and I look at that and I'm like, that's my happy place, like ocean and swimming and sunshine. I think the premise of the house was for it to be this very calm space. Like, I'm quite a hectic person, so I feel like this house is a repressed version of my personality maybe. But I think because the light is so lovely in here, is that we wanted it to work in kind of unison with the light and have this, you know, it's all about the shadows, the reflections, and I think, yeah, we just wanted a calm space. With the dining table, we opted for the largest we could fit in the space, which I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but I am someone that loves to host and have people over for dinner and have always done that. This table, it's my most kind of prized possession. It's a Verona Rosso stone from Portugal. The couple that own this incredible company, Della Spada, they actually came and did a cookery class in our last place, and they brought their daughter and had this really lovely time together, and they got in touch about this table and the products they made, and yeah, I fell in love with this whole thing. And the one bone of contention, and maybe this still isn't its permanent home, but is the Pink Panther. It's a Catherine Bernhardt print, and I bought it for my husband. He loves it, but for me it's the one thing that I'm like, oh, I just don't love it. But you know, marriage is a compromise and here I am compromising. That was the kitchen. I hope you like it. We should go take a look upstairs. This is the first floor of the house, and the house is kind of built like a townhouse, I guess, so we're across 4 floors, but it's bizarrely configured. So we added this kind of lovely curved wall, which I love, and this became our shower for the bathroom, and it also added like an extra meter for you to kind of walk into the bathroom. This we kept as a desk space. We actually took the stone from the bath. So this is the bath cut out in a way to try and be resourceful and try not to be so wasteful. This is another Lucy Law print, and I just quite like the colours and the tones, and it felt like it was kind of another calming aspect to add to this little space. This is our work zone. It's all about being able to kind of switch off from everything else and really focus. So it's, you know, it's about getting your coffee, it's whatever snacks you need. I like to time myself to give myself kind of allotted, you know, an hour to do this and allocated job. Anything that might distract me or take me away from my work, phone is always away. A must for me is headphones. I use the Galaxy Buds 2 Pro. It's all about cancelling out any distractions, any noise around me, especially if my husband's home, and these have active noise cancellation, so these are my go-to. I love podcasts and I listen to them religiously, and these are super comfy, so I can sit for hours with these on. The other thing I like to do is really kind of set the scene, is light a candle and channel all the calm. I have no excuse to not get my work done. For me, the bathroom started, it was my biggest spend to begin with, and that was the taps. They're Perrin and Rowe, and yeah, I blew all my budget initially on taps. Everything is on dimmers, because I just wanted this sense of calm to kind of carry on through to the bathroom, so that this could be a bit of a sanctuary and somewhere to relax and enjoy. This is our master bedroom, or where we sleep, and this, I would say, was my first labour of love, because I used this natural St. Leo plaster, which I painstakingly applied over every wall, the ceiling. I colour matched the cornicing, which was had to all be sprayed because it's so tricky to kind of hand paint. And this room I love because it gets the sun first thing in the morning. You can look out at the square and you see these big kind of swaying trees, and I feel like that connection to nature is a good calming wake up. Our bed is enormous because we had a big dog that would sleep on the bed, so that's my excuse for a giant bed. All the lights are kind of on dimmers, everything comes with like a calmer dialed down version. The artwork above the bed, it was when my dog got sick, and I don't know, my husband summed it up in the way that dog brains and the kind of confused or combination of person next to dog brains was a bit of all of us. So yeah, that's our family portrait, but kind of Tracy Emin style. And this piece of art is also Tracy Emin. We're super fans. And I actually got this for my husband from the Royal Academy Summer Show. I mean, a long time ago, because I got it for him as his engagement present. So I got a ring and he got kind of sexy print or lithograph. The floor upstairs is another double bedroom, and actually really weirdly, everyone's always like, why is that not your bedroom? Because it's pitched ceilings, it's high up there, there's a sense of space, there's windows both sides, and you've got the open plan bathroom. But I think I'm kind of guided by the view to the greenery and the vast trees that have been there for hundreds of years, and I feel like you just don't have that upstairs. When I think about tips for renovating, I think don't underestimate how capable you are. Do things that will be able to be easily evolved over time. So while the space is quite neutral, it's still textural, but I know that I can dress it up, or I can kind of add colour or art that will make the space feel kind of renewed, where if I get bored or, you know, a year or two down the line and I want it to feel different. So I think I played it safe, but hopefully in a way that was interesting enough to kind of make us stay in love with how it feels now. I hope you enjoyed having a nosy around my home. Don't forget to subscribe to the Sunday Times Style YouTube channel. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Lucy Williams, and this is how I live with style. It's obviously a real luxury to have a garden, especially in West London, so that was one of the biggest selling points to me of this house. We've got a dog, I love being outside. These flowers now, we ended up making like an aisle out of these at our wedding in Greece recently, and then we came home and they'd flowered here, so it was a really nice coincidence. Now they always remind me of that. As you can see from the outside of the house, my love of blue starts here. You're going to see it a lot as we go inside. When I told my builders that I wanted to paint every window reveal in this pale blue, they definitely thought I was a bit crazy. Reminds me of Greek shutters, and yeah, I definitely like sort of pretending I'm on holiday even when I'm at home, and I think that's where I was going with this. Anyway, let's go inside and have a look at the house. So this is my kitchen. I went through loads of iterations of what colours to do the kitchen, but then it ended up all kind of tying together once I decided on the colour of the windows outside. And I love pale blue with this kind of dark brown or dark red colour. One thing I really didn't want with this house, I didn't want people to come in and feel like they couldn't sit in anything or had to take their shoes off. Like, I grew up on a farm, so it was dog hair and muddy boots, and I should probably be more precious, but I'm not. We'd moved from a 2-bedroom flat, and one of the things that I was really excited about was having a bigger table. And this picture I absolutely love. It's taken by a friend of mine, Louis Sheridan. I think it was in Argentina, Patagonia. It's become one of those things now that every time I see a piece of art that I like, I realise it has a horse in it, so having to slightly rein myself in, pun intended on that one. First of many horses. I went through so many iterations with this kitchen because one thing I really wanted was somewhere soft to sit in here. I just always kind of dreamed of having a kitchen with a sofa or something. I'm an out and proud telly addict. So I think at one point I was thinking, you know what, I'm not going to put a TV in, I'm going to be really chic. And then I was like, I'm going to have to put a TV in because what else am I going to do sitting here? You'll probably see that all the shelves have been softly plastered, and for that kind of like Cadillac-esque look, but much cheaper to do. I am not the tidiest person, so I definitely needed to have lots of places where I could put things, but I also really wanted some shelves. It's all a bit mismatched, not too perfect. I don't really believe in having like matching dinnerware. I like it all just being a bit thrown together. I actually found these at a friend of mine, Laetitia Rouget's exhibition a few years ago. It's very rare that me and my husband agree on things to go on the wall. So yeah, the fact that we agreed on them, we had to get them. Okay, that's enough with the kitchen. I could witter on all day about all the different things here. Let's go through to the sitting room. So this room was my sort of indulgence room, if you will. I just wanted to have somewhere where I could have some really nice furniture, not think too practically. I had kind of visions of having friends over, having a little cocktail from the bar, swanning around here before going for dinner down there. Realistically, tend to use it more just for reading the Sunday papers in the winter. Told you that I was quite into horses, and I definitely wasn't lying. This is quite a new purchase. It's by an artist called Ben Craze. He's a Californian artist, and his signature are these pink cowboy hats that he seems to put in every picture. This is by an artist called Alma Barrow. Always makes people do a second take, which I love about it. I don't know, I just love anything that's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and she does it really, really well. This is probably the room where I spend the most amount of time. Not an accident that the dog matches the sofa. So this is Finn. Finn is my 5-year-old mutt from Cyprus. Clearly loves being on camera and loves being on the sofa. This is a Maker and Son sofa, and I just love this colour with the blue. The daisies behind as well, I love these. They're by a photographer called Casey Moore. They stop it from feeling too twee. They just scream sort of summer to me. The thing that I actually love the most in this room, and what I kind of first wanted to design in here, was these bookshelves, and I always wanted to have the sliding doors to separate the two spaces, so then once you've closed them, I don't know, this feels even more cocoon-like. Oh, another horse. Told you it was a problem. So you probably saw that I do love colour in the house, but in this room, which is our bedroom, I wanted it to be quite calm, quite zen. So we went for this kind of very creamy white, warm colours, just the odd pop of yellow still there. The thing that I get the most comments in when people first walk into this room is about how high the bed is. When I was finishing off the house, the amount of jokes that I had from the decorators, the builders, the upholsterers, about whether or not they needed to make me a ladder to get on the bed. It is very high, but it is very comfy. I literally had a stool at the end of the bed. I had to make it specially so that the dog could get on the bed. The one thing that I wanted was to have quite a sort of like impact headboard, but I wanted it to be by how wide it was. So we kind of took it to as wide as the bedside tables, and just in this soft wave. I love anything that's a little bit wavy or soft lines. I like the fact that we don't have any art above it, and it's just quite clean. The only piece of art we have in the whole room is a little framed menu from a restaurant called Ossip in Somerset. We went to it a year ago, and it was just one of the best meals we'd ever had. And I quite like framing things that you wouldn't immediately think are worth framing, and just making it into a bit more of a thing. I've got a menu downstairs that's I had dinner in New York with a friend, and her friend was the chef, and she came and had dinner with us and doodled down the recipe of the pasta that we were eating. And I told her, I'm going to frame it, I'm going to put it in my downstairs loo, and she was like, okay, that's a bit weird. And I did it, and then I got a bit cringed out because my friend sent it to her, and I think she thinks I'm a crazy fan now, but I think it looks cool. Okay, so that is the bedroom. This kind of calm theme kind of carries on next door. So this used to be a bedroom. We turned it into a bathroom. We watched the whole of The Sopranos in lockdown, and when I was designing this house, I just couldn't help but be slightly inspired by their very beige 90s house in here. And while I love a roll-top bath, I also really like having places to put it, hence why I did an inbuilt bath, and it was just a nice excuse to have a little bit more of this beautiful marble. Just noticed another horse as well. Okay, that is enough of my very me time space. Let's go up to the spare room. I got this from a car boot sale last Christmas. I actually bought it from Lucinda Chambers for, I think, £10, and then had it framed, and I love it. I love anything old quilted like that, and actually framing it, it now looks amazing. So this room always gets a big reaction. I think it's the wallpapering on the ceiling as well. People love staying over here. I love how the wallpaper kind of looks like a floral, but it's actually tiny shells. Yeah, super pretty. I didn't want this room to feel too cutesy and cottagey, so I think things like a bit of cast iron, the cushion, the iron lamp above the bed, it kind of stops it from feeling too pretty. And then this chair as well, this came from our old flat. I found this in a market for about 50 quid, and it had this sort of like saggy old velvet hammock seat in it. I had it completely redone. Yeah, it feels really kind of contemporary. One of the first things I actually bought for the house, this dresser, bought it through like an Instagram antiques dealer. I think I bought it for about a year before we actually moved in, so I had to store it for ages. But when it finally got home, it was kind of nice. It was like that full circle moment when the whole house was finished. I knew I wanted to use yellow and checkerboard somewhere, and the little spare bathroom was the perfect place to do it. And I love the little rope mirror in there and the sauna lights. The lights are actually on upside down, but it kind of works, so a happy accident there. Right, I have got friends coming around for dinner, and I have no idea what I'm making, so I've got to go. This one needs to come for a walk. Thank you so much for coming around my house with me. Don't forget to subscribe to the Sunday Time Style YouTube channel, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye.
Hello, my name is Luke Edward Hall, and this is how I live with style. I'm an artist and designer, and I live here in the Cotswolds. I've lived here for 3 years, and at the time I was living in London with my boyfriend Duncan and our whippet Merlin. We wanted to move to the country, and this cottage popped up online, and we came to see it and completely fell in love with it. Mainly because it feels really remote when you're here, you can't see any other buildings, and also because it was a blank canvas for us to decorate, which is really what we were excited about. This is a sitting room, which we painted olive green, which is one of my favorite colors. We were excited about doing a kind of our take on country decoration when we moved here. So I got really excited about using lots of chintz fabrics and finally having a big squishy sofa, which we never had in London. We really enjoy making things for the cottage because often we can't find exactly the kind of things that we're looking for. I think we just both love being surrounded by, stuff we've collected, yes, but also things we've made, because I think really it's just that sense of like, it's what we do, and it's a way to experiment and live with things on a daily basis, see how they work. So this ottoman is one that I designed and have made, and it actually has these embroidered golden arrows on top, which I really love. So I made this, and then this table is one of Duncan's prototypes in red lacquer. And then this is one of my favorite things, this leopard armchair, which I found in an auction at, where was it? Essex Road, Criterion Auctioneers, which I love. Duncan and I are both obsessed with grotto furniture, which, if anyone doesn't know, is kind of a Venetian style of furniture, Rococo, usually silvered or gilt wood, and it's pieces, usually chairs and tables, that are made to look like fish or shells, or kind of a combination. And we saw this chair in an antique shop in Tetbury, and we both fell in love with it, and it's a bit ridiculous, but we had to have it. And it has a pile of books on it because no one's allowed to sit in it. These frames here, we picked them up on holiday in Sicily, and it actually is one of my favorite trips that we've done. It was about 3 years ago, and we met some American friends in Sicily in Taormina, and then went down the coast, and we found this little jewel box of an antique shop down a little lane, and picked up these prints here, and I just love their kind of pale green, really thin frames, and the cobalt blue sea. And the mantelpiece, it's kind of fun because it's like an ever-changing little tableau of bits and pieces that we bring into the house. And this little lighter we picked up in the Hamptons a few years ago, and we can never really work out whether it's a fish or a chicken. The Egyptian heads were made by a man called Peter Hone, and he's known as the master plaster caster. He has an amazing collection of antique, and I've been lucky enough to visit his apartment in Notting Hill once, which is like a kind of incredible museum, like the Sir John Soane Museum. This is the bar. My favorite drink to make is a Negroni Sbagliato, so I kind of like fizzy Negroni. So there's usually all the ingredients for that. Campari is my favorite. I love a kind of bitter drink. I'm not a massive wine drinker. I kind of prefer cocktails. So for me, making a drink and cooking is a nice way to turn off. I love cooking, so for me at the end of the day, like from 6 o'clock, it's time to like unwind and do something else. This is like a lethal like walnut liqueur made by our neighbour. It's absolutely delicious, but gives you the worst hangover you've ever had. It's also where we keep all of our glassware, and we love glassware, we love collecting glassware. Duncan also makes glasses on Murano in Venice, so we have his glasses. Let's go through to the dining room. On the way, let me show you these pictures. I always take a digital camera or a disposable camera with me wherever I'm going. And these I took on holiday in Italy maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but I don't know, I just really loved them when they came out. They got this really nice kind of blue color. Come through to the dining room. This is basically the other big room downstairs. It really comes alive on a weekend. I mean, in the country, we love having people over, we love cooking, we love hosting. And these chairs, I found them on eBay and then had them sprayed green lacquered. If you end up with a piece of furniture that hasn't got the best finish, spray painting them gives them like a sort of new lease of life. These two pictures, either side of the fireplace, when we first moved in, I knew that we needed to have something here, and I didn't know what we were going to end up with, so I did these really quickly and had them framed and put them up, and they've kind of stayed ever since. And then here, this vase, actually Duncan got me for Christmas, and we both agreed that it's kind of like hideous, but really lovely at the same time. This is one of my pieces. I make my ceramics up in Scotland. I work with a ceramicist up there who makes things for me, and then I hand paint them. This cabinet, well, let me move this out of the way first. This is a canvas I'm working on at the moment, which is enormous, so it has to live here. This cabinet was actually the first thing we bought for the cottage. We love particularly like anything shaped like shells or fish. There are things that we buy and regret. I mean, I'm not a big one on regrets. I mean, I think that's also like the joy of collecting and the joy of decorating is amassing things, enjoying them, and then letting them go. This is a tray that I made recently as part of my collection with my new brand, Chateau Orlando. So this design is actually one that we've made on jumpers, like this one I'm wearing, but we've also printed it on trays. This is our bedroom. It's one of 3 little bedrooms upstairs. The wallpaper is from Svensk 10, the Swedish interior design company that I've worked with before, making a few products. We love this one. It's called Sunday Morning. When you wake up here, it's very restful. And as you can see, I'm a bit obsessed with books, and I've always got 10 on the go at once. I usually have, like, weirdly, a couple of books on the go about witches because I'm really into English folklore and our kind of strange customs, particularly in the countryside. Since I've been here in the countryside, I'm really interested in other people in the past that have moved to the countryside, especially couples, and especially kind of gay couples as well that have moved to the country, because there are some really interesting stories. People like Cedric Morris and Arthur Let Haynes, who are painters who lived down in Sussex. It's really interesting to connect to people who are experiencing the same kind of thing as you. This is our bathroom, and we painted it this dusty violet color. This cabinet is one of my favourite things in the house. It belonged to a guy called Sir Roy Strong, who is an amazing historian and writer, and I love anything kind of Gothic. What have we got inside? We've got bath salts from the Slad Valley. Slad Valley is one of my favourite places to visit. It's just down the road, and it's where the writer Laurie Lee lived, and there's an amazing pub there called the Bull Pack. This one I really love in summer, and I love the packaging of this perfume. I think it's like the most perfect bottle with the great text. Also, and seems here, book about keeping chickens, because that's next on the list. I think a plan maybe for next year. But I went through a phase of really wanting to get chickens and was about to order the whole shenanigan for outside, but I think it's a plan for 2023. This is a guest bathroom, and it's also known as the boys' bathroom because whenever we accumulate a new picture of a handsome boy, he goes on the wall here. So we've got a poster from a Mapplethorpe exhibition. We've got a drawing of Lord Byron by my friend Fee Greening, and then also a drawing for an invitation that I did for Lanvin a couple of years ago. This is our guest bedroom. We love having friends to stay, and almost every weekend we've got people coming to stay with us, and we'll cook together and go and see local beauty spots. The things that hold the most value to me are like the little like bits of ephemera. Like all that stuff stuck on the fridge, weirdly, I'd probably be more upset about losing than that fab Rococo grotto chair, because all of that stuff like can never be replaced. You can always find a new amazing old chair or whatever, but you can't replace like the drawing that my niece did and is stuck on the fridge, which sounds really like corny, but it's, you know, it is true, I think. The most successful or most interesting interiors are ones that really reflect their owner's personality and character. This house, I hope, represents me and Duncan and what we've built together and our interests and passions kind of coming together. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed looking around today. I'm off to take Merlin for a walk, but don't forget to subscribe.
Hello, I'm Laura Jackson and this is how I live with style. When we bought the house, I didn't really notice the wallpaper. It's kind of quite stained because the family that used to live here used to smoke, so it looks a little bit old and tired in certain places, but I just think that gives it its charm. We have lots of photography in the house, mainly because my husband's a photographer. This is something that he took when he was in Sicily on a job, and I can remember him showing me through his like gorgeous pictures of whatever he was doing. I was like, no, we have to get this printed. I absolutely love this Sicilian roundabout. And actually when anyone comes in the house, they're always like, wow, who's that by? And I'm like, my husband. I'm literally obsessed with this vase. I think it's so beautiful. It's a glass 3-colour Moroccan vase from a brand called Arbala. And I found Arbala because I've just launched a homeware platform called Glassette, and they are stocking on the site. I've always said like a house is the film set of your life, and I just really love that. I do feel like if these walls could talk, they'd tell you that we've fallen out a lot of times over deciding whether to change this wallpaper or what we should recover our chairs in, but I love the journey. Okay, let's go to the kitchen. Come this way. I love it in here. It's really light and really airy. When we were designing the house, we really wanted to have a space that felt good for entertaining. And then we've got some more gorgeous pictures here. If you come and have a look, they're from a photographer called Peter Mitchell. This kind of makes me laugh because in the living room I'm like, oh, so nice, I'm thinking of Sicily, and here I'm like, oh lovely, back to Leeds. The old linen drawer. I love it. It's got like all of my napkins and my tablecloths and my runners. Whenever I go on holiday, I will always find the flea market, the vintage shop, and we kind of went shopping one day in Sri Lanka, and everyone was like, there's no shops here where you can buy your little trinkets, and I was like, I will find one, I will hunt one down, and I did. I found this really lovely shop and they sold really nice linen, so I bought some nice napkins, and I love having them on the table because it just really reminds me of that holiday. Oh, this one is for my friend Matilda. It's just so sweet. It's like a little cocktail napkin. These were actually from my wedding that I had made. They're like a nice pink with an orange trim. Very lovely. I'm not very tidy. Who irons linen? Who's got time to iron linen? It's fine. I'm just gonna shove it in here. So the plants are a labour of love because my husband loves the plants. I mean, come look at this one. This cheese plant. So a family had it and it was on eBay for 50 quid, right? And they were like, it's got too big for the house, so we want to sell it. And they were really sad to see it go. John said they kind of came out and waved the plant off at the door, which I think is quite lovely. So it kind of feels like we've rescued it, which is really nice. Come through to the pantry. I absolutely love this little room. Oh, that's Barry, the dog. When I don't know what to cook, I kind of stand in here and I look at everything that I've got on the shelves, and I don't know, I always find it really inspiring. So if I go on holiday, I'll always get like an olive oil. These kind of cinnamon that I got from a trip to Sri Lanka. I've got so many cookbooks. Some of my favourite cookbooks. One is this one, which is the Zuni Kitchen Cookbook. It's a restaurant in San Francisco and they do this incredible chicken salad recipe. It's legendary and it's really tasty. And then someone sent me a present the other day. This is such a nice idea. It's called Lazy Baking. It's a brand new book. And they folded down all of the pages with a little note that they think that I'll like. So this is great for weekend brunch. Should you go upstairs? This is the master bedroom where the magic doesn't happen, but let me show you the kids' room next door. I love this room. So this is the kids' bedroom, which I absolutely love, and this is the mural that's on the wall here, painted by a lovely friend, Tessniel, with flowers and trees. It feels really botanical, and the attention to detail is just amazing. Like, I love all the kind of the petals here on the hollyhock. It feels like a real oasis in here. We went to Ardingly Flea Market with my mum, and my mum was like, oh my God, I really, really want to buy this for Sydney. And we kind of thought, oh, we'll have a little think about it. And then we were like, oh my gosh, we absolutely have to get it. So we ran back to this store. It's just such a lovely little rocking horse, and she sits on it and she kind of brushes its ponytail at the back here. I don't know if it's a girl or a boy. Miserable as sin, but a great listener. This window we stripped back ourselves with a heat gun, and it took hours and hours and days and weeks. It was a real labour of love, not for me, for my husband. So this was actually 2 rooms that we knocked through into one large bathroom, and all of the walls felt quite angular, so we wanted to offset that with a really nice round shower, which is over here, which was inspired by a lovely kind of Moroccan bathroom. And then this bath actually is the world's heaviest bath. It was so big and so heavy that we actually couldn't get it up the stairs, so we had to crane it through the bedroom window. It was the most stressful thing ever. So it can't be moved. The floor had to be reinforced. This lovely cabinet didn't come with these kind of curtains, so we put them on the inside to hide the mess on the inside. It's full of linen. We bought it from Belgium when we went on a sourcing trip. It was really inexpensive. I think it was like a couple of £100. And it's such a beautiful piece. I'm worried that if we ever leave the house, how we're going to get it out of here. And this is a fireplace that we uncovered once we knocked these 2 rooms together. It was such a lovely surprise, and it actually works. Is there anything more romantic than having a fire and a bath? I don't think so. So you've seen the house, and now this is the final piece of the puzzle, the basement, which is my glassette office. Now, this space was kind of built when we decorated the house, and it's quite industrial, which feels a bit different to what's going on upstairs. So we decided to put this really nice round table in here by Fred Rigby with these beautiful vintage chairs from Old Woods, which is a seller that I found on Instagram. Well, I think you've had the ground tour. I need to do some work. You need to leave. I will see you later. But also, don't forget to subscribe to the Sunny Time Style YouTube channel. Go on, off you go.